Hello and welcome to Empire Rugby League. This is the Western Front, where we talk everything local WA Rugby League. I'm the Bear. I'm joined by Beatrix. Beatrix, how are you?
Good, mate. Good to be back. Good tight round of footy this week. So in the local leagues, which is good. So
beautiful. And I've kicked Sweeney out of the hosting chair for the day because Morgs is unavailable. But Sweeney, you are here. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks very much. Always a pleasure to be on the Western Front.
Beautiful. Anyway, boys, we'll crack right into it with a senior round 6 review. Sweeney, kick us off with the results for Women's League Tag.
Yep, so Women's League Tag this week, we had Joondalup 84 over Mandurah 0, Alkimos 12 to Ellenbrook 16, we had Fremantle 4 to North Beach 32, Willagee 4 to South Perth 46, and Kwinana had the bye.
Awesome. And in third grade, we had Mandurah 22 over Rockingham 12, Alkimos 20 over Kalamunda 0, Kwinana 8 over Ellenbrook 4. Geez, that's a tight one. Fremantle unfortunately forfeited against North Beach, and Willagee went down to South Perth 36-4. Val Murphy, Beatrix, I think that's you.
Yep. And in the Val Murphy, we had the Rockingham Sharks beating Joondalup 28-10. Kalamunda 14 over Alkimos 0. Kwinana 12 over Ellenbrook 0. North Beach 18, Fremantle 16. Nice, another close game there. And to finish off the round was South Perth 34 over Willagee 14.
So, which one was your pick of the round there, Beatrix?
I probably have to go with. I'll go with the Rockingham Joondalup game. There was a few old faces popped up on the team sheet for Rockingham. Little halfback and Sean Scott played 20s at the Warriors. Played first grade at Rockingham for many years. Really good player. So I think the class of him coming in playing 7 is what got him over the line in a fairly convincing win, 28-10 over the Giants. So good to see a bit of depth coming through for the Sharks.
Oh, fantastic. Sweeney, catch that game at all?
I didn't actually see that game, but yeah, seeing Rockingham get up as they're not doing too well at 3 grades this year is always good to maybe start some of their momentum and some knock-on effect through their other grades as well. Fantastic.
Looks like some positive signs there for the Sharkies. Anyway, continuing on to the Women's Premiership, we had Willagee defeat Ellenbrook 22-18 and Fremantle 58 against Kalamunda 0. Kalamunda are still struggling to find their feet there, and Joondalup had the bye. I'll throw this one to you, Sweeney. Willagee 22, Ellenbrook 18. How'd you see this one?
Yeah, I tip Willagee because I've got it. It was a tight game. This was the Pathways game of the week. So this one was broadcast on YouTube. Held at Weber. It was a pretty close game, very quick. Again, the standout for me was probably the number 9, Ruby. She's just an absolute gun at the front there. No fear. I think they did really well. Willagee is showing that they're absolute premiership muscle this season. Beatrix.
Yeah, it was a really back and forth game. Ellenbrook looked like they had the upper hand for a big chunk, and then Willagee come back, and then I think I said it in the preview that we posted on Facebook, but I thought it was going to be a battle of the halves. And I thought in that close game that maybe KT would have stepped up, taken control of the game, but it actually went the other way. The halfback for Willagee really stepped up. She was by far the best player on the field. And from all reports coming out of it, there might be a bit of spice in the next game. So can't wait for the return match.
A bit of feeling in the Women's Premiership. Good to see. Sweeney, we'll just jump ahead to the Men's Premiership if you got those ones there in front of you.
Yeah. So we've got Joondalup 16 over Rockingham 12. North Beach 22 over Fremantle 20, and Willagee 20 over South Perth 8. So I'll start with the obvious one here is the Willagee over South Perth. South Perth being the top of the table. Willagee had a little bit of a shuffle around with their squad, and it absolutely looked like it worked. Willagee were just over the top of South Perth the whole time. Again, this was the Pathways game, so this was a broadcast game on YouTube. There's not much more I can say about that. They just looked more in control. I don't know if South Perth couldn't get out of another gear, whether they just couldn't get their combinations right on the day. But stoked because I picked Willagee for that win anyway.
Oh, you got a local tip up. About time.
Yeah. It was a huge upset in that scoreline of 28. It's pretty comprehensive win. I think probably just a bit of complacency coming in for South Perth. They've been so good through the start of the season, and Willagee had been a bit hot and cold. So yeah, I don't think they really went into it with the right intent, and it showed in the scoreline.
Yeah.
Well, how about the 2-point game, North Beach v Freo? How do we see that one, Beatrix?
Yeah, well, on paper, I thought North Beach, they had a few back in. Their pack looked really, really strong, and obviously Fremantle turned up on the day. They're a different team at home, Fremantle, so yeah, it's going to be a cracking game this week because Fremantle coming up against South Perth. So
nice.
See if the form can continue from Fremantle.
Sweeney, catch any of that one, or did you head up to the Joondalup Rockingham game?
No, I stayed home and watched the Willagee and South Perth game.
Oh, stayed home on a live stream.
That was the live stream game. That was the Pathways game.
Very good.
No, but look, to see, again, to sort of see on the other side here now, with Joondalup getting the win over Rockingham. Again, both clubs have struggled early on in the season, so allowing this win for them to hopefully get a little bit more momentum, especially in Premiership. Again, maybe it can filter down into the lower grades, and we see them moving forward.
Well, as always with local footy, results are up and down throughout the year, so we'll wait and see as we get to the back end to see who's really in contention.
That was a good win by Joondalup, though, because Rockingham touched them up earlier in the year.
Yeah,
so it was good.
Nice little comeback win.
Comeback,
Bit of revenge. Nice. Anyway, Beatrix, what is grinding your gears this week with senior footy?
Oh, it's not so much. It's a senior footy thing. It's an across the board thing, and it's when team of the weeks are named and people are named out of position. That's sort of what grinds my gears. But like we said in the group chat, if that's the only problem that we got in the seniors this week, like things are going pretty well.
No, I agree
at the moment. So
maybe some areas of administration. What about it is it that sort of kind of puts you offside with it? Do you not want to see like the love spread across the clubs, or do you want to see, look, these are the guys that were the number one in their position in their spots, and that's what they deserve, and you want them to be shown what they need?
Yeah, I just think if you're naming a fullback on the wing or a centre at 5'8", or second rower at centre or something like that, just to fit him in the team, if someone played better than you at second row in the competition that week, then you're not the best second rower in the comp that week.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So that's
I think that's fair. I mean, you wouldn't be naming Kalen Ponga at halfback in the team of the week for an NRL side because he doesn't play at halfback. So you're going to pick your best in position is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah,
But anyway, we'll move right along. No big issues there this week. Fantastic.
Good.
On to the juniors. So this week there wasn't much junior action. We only had the under-17 boys play, but we did have the Rise, I suppose, Carnival over the weekend, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. What we will do is we'll run through the 17 boys results there with Sweeney first, and then we'll touch on Rise.
Yeah, awesome. So, under 17s boys, we had Ellenbrook 40 over Joondalup 0, Alkimos 32 over Rockingham 30, and Fremantle 52 over Kwinana's 8.
Whoa, a couple of spankings in that one, but again, it's 17 boys, so we expect some topsy-turvy results each week.
around the clock scores.
I think there's a couple of teams still struggling for a few numbers in the 17s, so, and rugby union's got a lot to do with that, so there's still a few filtering back, still on the fence about what they're going to play this year, so we'll see what happens in a few weeks' time.
Fair enough. Well, as we said, the Rise Carnival was on over the weekend, which was also a selection, I suppose, eyes on to be selected for the state sides for what is it, 15 schoolboys and 17? No,
it must be 17s because they didn't play.
They didn't play, so
15
trial.
Yeah.
So anyway, I believe, Beatrix, you were involved in Rise this year, were you not? Or just at 14?
I was last year. I was involved last year. And
take us through it.
Through coaching with the 14s again. So get a bit of feedback from the parents. And there was a lot of kids that didn't go through the Rise program this year. There's a couple of reasons around it. A lot of them thought it was just really a waste of time after last year. A lot of them sort of felt like it was a bit of a cash grab. You pay all this money. Which would be fair enough. Like if they were paying this money going through this Rise program, it would be great if there was higher level coaching. But it's just local coaches that are going through it, or GDOs, game development officers from the NRL, which is all good and well. But if we had a bit of influence from over east, maybe a few coaches come over for every like a 6-week program, so if they come over at week 2, week 4, and week 6 or something like that, give them a bit more experience that way. Another thing that I didn't really like about it was kids coming in the last week, and then they're taking game time away from other kids. So I didn't really like that. If you're going to do it, then you've got to do all 6 weeks in my opinion.
Well, that's only going to annoy the parents who have taken the time out to get little Johnny to Rise training for 6 weeks, and then Billy over here rocks up the week of and
gets game time
and potentially, we don't know if it's happened, potentially selected, but he hasn't gone through the entire program. So how do those kids get away with, if they do get selected, how does the governing body justify selecting those kids when they've rocked up last minute and you've got, say, 15 kids who have done the 6 weeks? They might not be the best, but they've ticked all the boxes along the way that you've told them to.
Yeah, that's right. They've ticked all the boxes that you've told them to. That's right.
So
but yeah,
I can understand how mum and dad might see that as a bit of a slap in the face, I suppose, especially if they've forked out the money to do the program.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it seems like the only box you had to tick was come to the last session, pay you $160 or whatever it was, and you can have a run on the weekend.
What about the kids that are going through that? The kids are seeing that the hard work they put in means nothing.
Yeah.
Someone else can just walk in, take their spot without putting in the hard yards, ticking boxes or not. Again, if we're trying to keep kids in the game, showing them that that's the attitude we're going to take, well, they're just going to turn off.
You've kept one kid in the game but lost 15 others.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to go back to your other point as well, Beatrix. With the coaching, do you think, how would like a mentorship look about bringing people over? Not just for the 6-week program, but is there a possibility of selecting these coaches that you want to run the Rise program and then potentially state programs, and having higher level coaches come across from the NRL a couple of weeks beforehand and put them through some more in-depth training, a bit more understanding about not just game dynamics or tactics, but about managing teenagers and managing kids and how best to put it all together?
Yeah, well, they could have done that off the back of last year. Like last year was the first year they introduced the Rise. So you had all these coaches. You could have taught them through the season. You could have had people come over doing seminars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, the age we live in.
Yeah,
grab your laptop, jump on a Zoom seminar for an hour and a half. Like, you're not going to be learning anything physical.
It's not as good, but
But this information's still going to be there.
It's a cheap way to do it. Flights are not cheap. People don't have a lot of time. Travelling to and from Perth is a lot of time. So it's just that. Yeah, so I thought there could be more done to, especially over here. Like we don't have a NRL team that's influencing people. Stuff like that. So
and won't for 2 years.
We'll be on the 8 ball with that. So I've said it on previous podcasts before. We need to be coaching coaches better, so then they can pass on and they can produce better players.
100%.
Better coaches, better players.
100%. Yeah. Now, anyway, we'll get back to the footy. So with the games on the weekend, how'd they pan out, boys? Oh, there's no results or anything, or
no idea because
for the Rise,
I'm not. They were scoring tries. Sure. They were scoring tries and kicking goals. So obviously there was points being scored, but there was no record. There was nothing posted on Facebook to say South beat North or South beat Central or anything like that. So there was no results to go by.
That seems a bit bizarre.
It's quite disappointing, especially it's a big opportunity. There's no competition age footy other than under 17s, so you could have promoted this a little bit better in my eyes.
Yeah, well, to have a selection trial, I suppose we'll call it that, but not have recorded scores or stats or that sort of thing, how can you genuinely select players when you're not keeping records?
Yeah.
It just seems a little counterproductive there.
Yeah, it's all, you can look at scores and sort of get a gauge of how games went and why players were selected. If one team's put on a big score against another team, then obviously there must have been some gun players in the team that put a big score on.
Yeah.
So they're playing. Well, what under 15s play these days? Two half-hour halves or
2 25-minute halves.
2 25. So what we had 10 games like that over the weekend or
No, so the first day was I think they were just 20-minute games or something like, or 30-minute games. But even them ones, from all reports that I've heard back, were broken into halves. So say if it was a
15-minute halves or 10-minute halves,
10 or 15-minute halves, then you have a stoppage. Even for only a few minutes. How do you get in any flow of a game?
Well, that's the other thing.
There's no fatigue coming into the game, so the halves and all the little guys don't get an opportunity to show their talents.
Yeah, that's again seems counterproductive for a selection trial, but yeah.
So, and then another point that I didn't like about it is the biggest competition in terms of numbers that we have in NRLWA in the juniors is the 14s competition. We've got 10 teams. Everyone else has 6 or 7?
6, 8, 7, something like that. Yeah.
So, but they're making there's no 14s games, and you say there's 13s and 15s. So we've got the biggest pool of kids in under 14s, and some of them don't want to have to go and play in under 15s.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, so that's another reason why I don't go through the Rise program. Because why would you go through this Rise program if you got to go play all these bigger kids in 15? I watched a couple of the games on YouTube, and you could tell the size difference between the 15s and the 14s.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Development-wise, 12 months is a long time for kids.
In rugby league it is.
Yeah. But you mentioned there that they're up on YouTube.
Yep.
Well, that's fantastic. That's awesome. At least someone can, it might not be our state, but hey, who knows? Someone from over east might have a gander and see a kid worth watching.
So I suppose if you want to know the results, go through and watch all the YouTube games and
score it yourself. Oh dear.
There's something else that sort of piqued my interest there is you talk about it being so like south, north. These are the old Dolphins and Fusion teams. Are they still a thing?
They had uniforms, so I'd say that it is sort of. They play under that banner, but
how would you go about creating a buy-in for kids to go? Yeah, I'm stoked to be playing for the Dolphins. Yeah, I'm stoked to be playing for Fusion. How do you entice them to want to play for that type of jersey? Do you think?
A carnival like what just happened isn't going to do it.
No.
Well, yeah.
So, all right. Well, how do we fix it? So, from memory, junior state champs used to be a 3-day or 2.5 day thing. I think it was Friday nights, Saturday and Sunday games.
Yep.
In early March.
Yeah, it used to be late Feb, early March.
So,
I think it might have been school holidays.
Something, I can't remember, something like that.
Maybe started. Yeah.
And you had 3 games and it was all scored and there was a genuine winner at the end of the game and there was a genuine winner at the end of the tournament.
Yep.
Why can't you just combine that format and just have the Rise flow through it?
Well, we could do. We talk about developing coaches as well. An idea that I had is you nominate your coaches that you're going to have for each area. So for Dolphins, Fusion, and Pride, and then you can develop them through the year as well through online seminars, face-to-face things, whatever. And then through the year they can go out, watch some local footy, and then you pick a squad of however many, 20, 25 for Dolphins, Fusion, Pride, and then you can still have your state champs at the end of the year, and then from that you would feed into your Rise.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that
chosen on merit instead of money.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that at the end of the season, maybe at the end of the junior season, those selected coaches through the Rise actually rock up to the junior club and go, "Here's an envelope, mate. Here's an invitation to come and join the Rise Academy at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Go through Rise. Next year, you are part of the junior state champ Rise combination carnival, and then we go from there." A selection seems a little bit more endearing and something to work harder, and it should actually boost the local junior competition because players are going out with that in the back of their mind, maybe.
Yeah, I like adding a little bit of pomp and circumstance to it. A little bit of theatricality will go a long way, especially trying to capture teenagers' imagination and interest. How would that setup work against the school competition as well?
Well, the school competition doesn't really come into it. They play in school hours against other schools. So, of course, you probably have the likes of someone like Isaac Thomas, who would have his eyes all over those school programs, he may be able to then be the representative nominee for the school side and present those invitations. So, look, there's ways to do it.
He is the coach for the 15 state team this year. So.
There you go. So, if anyone's going to have their eyes over that talent, it'll be him.
It also
fingers and toes and everything, isn't it?
It also gives you a more holistic view of how a player goes. Because you get to watch them in a full game. Like we said, there's fatigue in the game.
Yeah.
Even the big boys, how do they react when they're fatigued? Do they keep moving or do they leave holes in the line?
How does that gun little half react when his team's on the back foot or things aren't going his way? Is he a dummy spitter or is he going to cool, calm, collected and re-lead the team?
Yeah.
So you're not going to know those things out of a 20-minute game.
No, that's right. I mean, you can see over the longer period, you're going to be able to see those coaching qualities and those the attributes that you're able to work on and the child or the young athlete's able to work on
Well,
as well.
that as well. You're going to be keeping an eye on your coaches. So if your coach that you're possibly going to select is on the sideline hurling instructions, I'm going to say instructions, at his players because they're down by 2 points and there's 3 minutes left, you don't want that bloke coaching at a higher level.
No, that's
You want someone a little bit more calm, cool, collected, reserved, and realising that it's a game, they're kids.
Yeah.
There's a way to teach that lesson.
That's right, yeah. And kids, I would have to say, would not respond well to that type of thing. I mean, look...
Not only that, personally, if you're on the field and your coach is yelling at you from the sideline, you're not actually hearing the words.
No. Don't get me wrong, mate. I've copped a spray from my halfback for missing tackles and getting out of line.
That's completely different.
There's a very different way of doing that, and managing young athletes in that environment. It takes a special kind of person anyway. So,
but at the end of the day, these are all ideas, and I don't really know how much influence the NRL has on NRLWA in enforcing the Rise program the way it is.
Well, that's So, I mean, you'd hope that there was some leeway regarding each state or each territory just to suit the demographics and the competitions in those areas.
Yeah.
But a lot of ideas there, guys. So who knows? Maybe someone can come up with something better. But moving on ahead, we'll look forward to this weekend's junior games. So junior round 5. We found some fixtures for the under-13s boys too, guys. So that's good news. So Sunday the 1st of June, Kalamunda will play Ellenbrook at Hartfield Park. Kwinana will play Rockingham at Thomas Oval. And Fremantle will play Willagee at Treeby Community and Sports Centre, while Joondalup under-13s boys have the bye. Sweeney, under-14s boys.
Under-14s boys, we've got Kalamunda versus South Perth at Hartfield Park. Alkimos versus Joondalup at Heath Park Sports Ground. North Beach versus Ellenbrook at Blue Force Park. Kwinana versus Rockingham at Thomas Oval. And Fremantle versus Willagee at Treeby Community and Sports Centre.
Fantastic. 14s girls, Beatrix.
14s girls, just 2 games for the 14s girls. Joondalup versus Ellenbrook at Blue Force Park, and Fremantle versus Willagee at Treeby Community and Sports Centre, with Kwinana getting the bye.
Nice. 15s boys, Sweeney.
Yeah, we've got Kalamunda versus Ellenbrook at Hartfield Park. Alkimos versus Joondalup at Heath Park Sports Ground. Fremantle versus Willagee at Treeby Community and Sports Centre, with Rockingham having the bye.
Fantastic. And to wrap out the competition grade juniors, we've got the under-17s boys. Alkimos v Joondalup at Heath Park Sports Ground. Kwinana v Rockingham at Thomas Oval. And Fremantle v Ellenbrook at Treeby Community Sports Centre. Now, for those who aren't in the know, when we say Blue Force Park, that is North Beach's home. It is Charles Riley Reserve.
Charles Riley, yep.
But they have a sponsorship agreement with Blue Force that's their name rights.
Yes.
So Blue Force Park is Charles Riley Reserve and North Beach's home ground. Moving on, we'll do some senior previews. So Women's League Tag, Saturday 31st of May is when they will be played. And we have Ellenbrook versus Fremantle at George Burnett Park. A double header at George Burnett, actually, with South Perth and Alkimos as well. Kwinana play North Beach at Larkhill Sportsplex. And Willagee play Joondalup at Weber Reserve, with Mandurah having the bye. 3rd grade, Sweeney.
Yeah, so we've got Ellenbrook versus Fremantle, George Burnett Park, with South Perth versus Alkimos, at George Burnett Park as well. Kwinana versus North Beach at Larkhill Sportsplex. Rockingham versus Kalamunda at Larkhill Sportsplex, and Willagee versus Mandurah at Weber Reserve.
Val Murphy.
Ellenbrook versus Fremantle at George Burnett Park. South Perth versus the Yakamos at George Burnett Park. Willagee versus Joondalup at Weber Reserve. Kwinana versus North Beach at... we were talking about the ground for North Beach being called Blue Force Park. It was pretty remiss of me to not know this, but Larkhill is actually Franklin Offshore Stadium. Franklin Offshore.
That's right.
It is too.
Franklin Offshore, Craig and all the guys at Franklin have been long-term supporters of the Rockingham Sharks.
Nearly 10 years or more.
Craig's been fantastic for the club. He's been really good to me personally through my footy journey, and he's been really good to a lot of guys as well, helping them through their footy journey as well. So give a shout out there.
Well, from now on, we will name it as the sponsored ground.
So I thought I'd better get that one in. So.
Fair enough. Val Murphy. So you got a what would your game of the round be for Val Murphy this week, Beatrix?
Kwinana versus North Beach would probably be a good one. There's a few good games there. Kwinana versus North Beach. I think that's probably going to be a good one. Or Ellenbrook Fremantle. Yeah, we'll go Ellenbrook Fremantle.
Ellenbrook Fremantle. That's the game to watch.
That's at George Burnett in South Perth. I think that'll be a good game.
We are recording a little bit early this week, so we do not have team lists yet. So that's probably about as much as we can give you this week, folks, unfortunately. So Ellenbrook v Fremantle would be the Val Murphy game to watch. Moving along, Women's Premiership. Sweeney, this is you.
Yes, so we've got Kalamunda versus Joondalup at Hartfield Park, and Fremantle versus Willagee also at Hartfield Park, with Ellenbrook having the bye.
All right, give me a tip, boys. Kalamunda v Joondalup. Who's taking this one?
I've got Joondalup. I feel... look, Kalamunda are struggling to find their feet. They are. It's no bad press against them. So Joondalup for the win.
I think Joondalup will win, but this will be... I think Kalamunda will be much improved this week. They've had a bit of time together now.
Yep.
Had the week off.
So they came off the bye, haven't
hopefully
they?
they've done a bit of team bonding through there. Got to know each other a bit better. And
Yep.
I think it'll be much improved.
And they're at home, so
Yeah,
he's hoping. Fremantle Willagee, boys. Where's your tip going for that one?
Ooh, this is going to be a cracking game. It's going to be a really good game.
It is.
Fremantle, they've got a really good squad. But you can't go past Willagee after knocking off Ellenbrook last week, can you? They'll still be on high. But in saying that, sometimes wins like that can take the... you can believe the press too much. And
take a little bit too much out of it,
So Proudy's really going to have to be on them this week, make sure they're switched on. But yeah, I think Willagee will get up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Willagee as well.
So 2 for Joondalup and 2 for Willagee, but in close contest both games potentially.
Yep.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yep. All right, moving ahead now to Men's Premiership. Beatrix, this one's all you.
Men's Premiership this week. South Perth versus Fremantle at George Burnett. That's a 3:45 kickoff. Rockingham versus North Beach at Larkhill Sportsplex is a 4 or 4:30 kickoff, and Willagee versus Joondalup at Weber Reserve is a 4 or 4:30 kickoff too.
Alrighty, so South Perth Freo. I think I know where you two boys will be leaning here, but give me your tip.
South Perth need to bounce back after last week, don't they? I'm sure the coach will be into them. The senior players will be into them. That performance last week is not up to the standard that they want to be at. They didn't do too well last year, South Perth. So, is there a few cracks starting to appear in the squad? Is there a few ghosts from the bad season last year starting to appear? The best way to prove otherwise is to go out there and have a big win against Fremantle. But I wouldn't be surprised if Fremantle get the win. But I think South Perth are going to bounce back.
Fair enough. South Perth. Beatrix going for South Perth there. Sweeney in this one. South Perth Freo.
Look, I think South Perth have to bounce back after last week. It was a pretty decent kicking around. I don't think South Perth did anything too bad. I just don't think they got started properly. So maybe a little bit of complacency's come in, and I think they're really going to shore that up and come back with the win this week.
Fantastic. Alrighty, Rockingham v North Beach. Rocco are at home, so Beatrix, which way are we leaning?
North Beach, one of the premiership heavyweights. But I think Rockingham, with the young team, they should be trying to make their home ground a bit of a fortress. Rockingham's always been well known for, even when they're going bad, when you go down to Rockingham and you play Rockingham with Rockingham, you know you played Rockingham, regardless of the score. So if they can get a bit of that about them, I'd like to see a bit of improvement there, but you can't go past North Beach.
Sweeney?
I'm actually going to go with Rockingham on this one. Being at home, they're needing more push. I think they're going to give it. It is, as Beatrix has said, playing Rockingham at home, no matter what grade you play, they lift. It's I don't know if it's just knowing the bar's up there ready to go. I don't know if it's coming through that tunnel. There's a different energy down at Franklin Offshore. It's an incredible ground to play at. It's incredibly difficult to beat Rockingham there. So I'm going to have to go with Rockingham on this one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain, so Sharks are better in water than Eagles. So.
But they are the Sea Eagles.
Well, I mean, they both train close to the ocean, but like Lark Hill is always windy. It's always wet.
That's freezing.
Yeah.
But so Beatrix, I've got a little theory on this one. So Sweeney's taking Rockingham there. This week, it's New South Wales versus Queensland on Wednesday night and Thursday night. I think Sweeney's just looked at the two colours of the jerseys there, Rockingham in the sky blue and North Beach in the maroon. I think he's just gone with the New South Wales allegiance there.
That's all I see this week. It's blue. It's all blue.
Makes sense.
Fantastic. All right, and the last game in men's premiership, Willagee versus Joondalup. Which way are we leaning, gents?
It's got to be Willagee after their big win last week against in many people's eyes, the premiership favourites. I can't see it going any other way.
Sweet.
Yeah, I agree. Willagee really looked like they clicked and gained a massive amount of momentum with that win, and I think they're back at home again. So yeah, they like Beatrix has said, I think they're going to start making Webber a bit of a fortress for themselves. With the
Why not? It's one of the best grounds in the state that we play rugby league on. So why not make it a fortress?
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, definitely going with the Bears on that one.
Fantastic. Well, gents, it's come to that time of the show where we're all but done. There's one segment left. It is our local legends. This week, we will not go in depth with a story with the local legend because we may have something special coming out a little bit later in the week. But we will name it. Our local legend this week, is Danielle Parker from the Willagee Bears. Now, like I said, stay tuned. There may be something coming up. But until then, remember to train hard, be kind, and love rugby league.